Dumb piercing ideas. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 37. Starting right now. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I'm the owner and operator of the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. What we're going to talk about today is what I consider really dumb piercing ideas, or piercings that just aren't a good idea. Before I get into that, I should probably explain a little bit about there's kind of four different types of piercings. The first type is the established or traditional piercing. These are piercings that have been done numerous times over the last 3 decades, continue to heal easily. Some are a little more tricky than others, but for the most part, if you keep the jewelry in, take care of it during the healing process, and there isn't some obsessive or excessive amount of trauma to the piercing, you can have that until you decide to take the jewelry out or they bury you. The second kind is at-risk piercings. These are piercings that, they may pretty much heal. They're pretty common, but chances are they will not last for a long period of time. There are always exceptions with certain individuals that just do well with these types of piercings and have them for a long period of time, but chances are at some point the piercing is going to need to be abandoned or it's going to reject. Common things with this would be like bridge of the nose, nape of the neck, dermal implants, and that sort of thing. Where, it probably is going to stay for a while, but it's probably not a permanent guest. It's kind of on vacation. The third type would be play piercings or temporary piercings. These are piercings that are done for just the experience of getting pierced or for maybe a photo shoot or some type of event. Probably the most common or easily known of these, or well known of these, is the corset piercings that are done down the back with rings and then have interlace or lace through it. These piercings are not designed to be worn permanently. They are a temporary thing. There's also play piercings, which are just done with needles. That's more for the experience of getting pierced. That goes into body play and and a number of underground sexual activities and subcultures, but it's not something that I would consider a permanent piercing or an established piercing, or even an at-risk piercing. The final type are experimental piercings. Now, experimental piercings are piercings that possibly nobody's done, possibly people have done it, but had bad results. It's kind of that bleeding edge, which, yes, I do understand, and I do believe that innovation with any type of art only happens when people push that limit. There always has to be that one person that proves that it can be done. The problem with this is that over the last decade or so, with the increasing influence that various different social networks have on piercing and what's being done and what's considered normal, it has kind of driven this slew of bad ideas, piercings that have been proven to be problematic and problems and not heal correctly, to suddenly seem to be normal or natural. A lot of these would fall in this category and generally are just not good ideas. I'm going to go through 10 of them that I get called on a regular basis, that seem to creep up over and over and over again. They kind of die off for a couple years, and then all of a sudden everybody and their brother thinks that it's a great idea, and they start calling around. If you are considering any of these piercings that I'm going to mention, you really need to seek out somebody with a high level of expertise, somebody who has done these piercings numerous times and had some form of success with them. This is not something you want to just go and call until somebody says, yes, they do it, or somebody who's going to do it the cheapest possible. There's a lot of thought that needs to be gone into these to even have them last a couple of weeks or a couple of months in some cases. Personally, I will refuse to do these piercings. I have done experimental piercings on clients in the past, but usually they were clients that I'd done numerous piercings on. They had healed them correctly. I knew they had the discipline, and they had a body that seemed to like piercings and had a good success rate. Even then, there was a period of time where we would have to go through consultations, and I would go over the risks, etc., and make sure that they were fully educated that this is not the best idea and the outcome may not be good. Even then, they usually had to wear me down to get me to do it. So let's get into it. Here's 10 of them. The first one I'm going to get into, and I'm probably going to call about this once every 2 days, and that is snake eye piercings. They're also known as trans-lobe tongue piercings or horizontal tongue piercings. This is a bad idea on a level of different things. The first thing is that the tongue needs to expand and contract, not only to move things around your mouth like you do naturally with your tongue, but also to make certain sounds. This piercing will greatly affect or impede your ability to make those sounds. The other problem with it is that it is in direct contact to lovely stainless steel or titanium, hard, well-formed, durable pieces of metal in the shape of a ball are in direct contact with your teeth and your gums. There just isn't the real estate there to have a ball hanging off the end of your tongue or in the front of your tongue. The other problem with them is they will tend to migrate over time. It is not a good idea. I do not advise getting that piercing done. The next one is another tongue piercing that seems to keep coming back over and over again, venom piercings. These are often confused with multiple piercings done off to the side. Even in that case, you really have to have the perfect anatomy to get piercings that aren't midline in the tongue because of where your veins are located at in the muscle structure of your mouth. If you take a barbell or a surface barbell or a ring and try to put it down and then through, it is going to migrate. It is going to have the same problems that a horizontal tongue piercing has or snake eyes. And once again, you have two large balls in contact with the roof of your mouth, causing damage to the gums and etc. The top of your mouth is not shaped like a giant flat surface. It's kind of rounded like this, and it hits at peak in that arch in the center, which means midline piercings will have the least amount of contact with it. The same thing on the bottom of your mouth. It's kind of shaped like that. So those, enough of the tongue piercings. Let's move on to some things that I don't understand why anybody would think were a good idea. The next one would be vampire piercings or gum piercings. Do I need to explain that not only are you risking enamel erosion and destruction of your bone structure in your mouth, in enamel and everything else, but if that becomes infected, it could be a serious issue. And with dental health, it can affect your overall health. Dumb idea, don't do them. This one would be the new one that seems to be coming up is Ashley piercings. Ashley piercings are a labrae piercing, basically a traditional labrae piercing, but instead being done below the natural ridge of the mouth, they're done above through the lip tissue. This has a couple of different problems. The first one being is a flat disc that's in direct contact with your front teeth. Yes, if you want to have chipped front teeth and you want to constantly catch it on things, awesome, do this piercing. The other problem with it is that they do, because the tissue is softer, there's an increased likelihood of the piercing migrating or growing completely out. So that's Ashley piercings. The next one would be Dahlia piercings or Joker piercings. These are basically cheek piercings that are done right at the corner of your mouth. The reason why we don't pierce there and have avoided that area for millennia, or at least as long as modern piercing has been involved, is a couple of different reasons. The first one being is that if it's inside this line of tissue, chances are it's going to migrate into the mouth and you're going to be left with two lovely scars there, kind of like a Chelsea smile for those that are in the UK or know anything about football hooliganism, or commonly more modern, the Joker from one of the Batman movies. That kind of scars at the side of your mouth, like somebody tried to cut your mouth open wider than what it is. The other problem with it is you have a large muscle grouping right here, and it is filled with saliva ducts. If you watched my video, pros and cons on cheek piercings, you already understand that cheek piercings are really prone to saliva and drool dripping out of it. This piercing is asking for that, possibly more so. It's kind of a sweet spot, and you have to have the right anatomy for it. And the truth is most people don't. And that, for that reason, and the risks that are involved, I will refuse to do it. You kind of have to hit this perfect balance between staying out of the muscle tissue, staying away from the saliva ducts, and being far enough out that your body doesn't simply migrate it into the mouth. This one is surface tragus piercings. This is a surface-to-surface piercing. Why does anybody think that this is going to heal any better than piercing the side of your arm or your chest or any other place? Basically, these are done properly with a surface-to-surface barbell, which is like a flat kind of U or half of a box, kind of squared off. With surface-to-surface piercings, it is much easier for your body generally to reject the jewelry than it is for it to heal tissue around that piercing and make it a permanent part of your body or a semi-permanent part of your body. So your body will reject it. Most of them that I see are done with curved barbells, which are not the proper type of jewelry in the least bit. This is not a new thing. This is an old thing. It doesn't work. Yes, there's probably one person out there out of 100 million people that has had the piercing and it healed correctly and they've never had an issue with it. You aren't that person, more than likely. That is a fluke. That moves us on to another surface-to-surface piercing that people pretend isn't a surface-to-surface piercing, and that's anti-eyebrows. Basically, a lot of people will say these are just like eyebrows. Eyebrows are surface-to-surface piercings. Yes, to a degree they are. It really depends on the shape of your anatomy and if your brow protrudes, because if it does, that's what we're actually piercing. With these, the problem is there's a lot more movement with facial expression or with facial expressions in eating, in talking, and etc. The more movement that area gets, the more likely it is for your body to reject it. Also, it is entirely different shaped tissue. It isn't two-sided like a brow is. It's kind of one-sided. Pinch down on it. Feel how it feels thicker on the bottom than it does on the top. That's your issue. This one I didn't even know if I wanted to put in, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it. It's a mandibular piercing, basically done straight through between the bones into the bottom of your mouth. Soak that one in, boys and girls, and realize that that is a dumb idea. There is one particular piercer that's a big, he's on the edge, he's doing this. He's the only one I know that's done one that seems to have healed correctly, and there were issues throughout it. There are a lot of issues with piercing that large of amount of tissue. The problem mainly being is how long it takes to heal and trying to keep up cross-contamination and avoiding the possibility of an infection developing that far into a piercing and you not being really aware of it and it leading to blood poisoning. Don't do this, please. Don't do this. Number 9, we're getting there, almost done. Hand webbing and finger webbing. Everybody pretends this is a good new thing. No, it isn't. It's been around since I started piercing, mainly the hand webbing. Now people have started doing the webbing between the fingers, thinking that's going to do any better. The problem with this is the movement that your hand has. It puts so much pressure and constant movement and strain on the piercing, it will migrate out. The other problem is that your hands come in contact with everything. So unless you're like, Curly from Of Mice and Men are going to wear gloves on your hands all day long to protect them, it's going to get infected. It's going to come in contact with something that will probably cause it to infect. It probably will never heal completely or even begin to heal. What your body will do is immediately try to reject the piercing. Now let's move on to the last one. finger piercings. This idea that you can pierce it with rings through this fatty tissue on the back or do dermals on the top. Just spend 5 minutes going about your daily life and pay attention to how many times your fingers come in contact with things. When you get into your pockets, when you put on a coat, when you put on a shirt, anything, all of those things are likely to catch that piercing and cause migration. The ring all the way around, it's probably never going to heal completely. And then there's the issue, like I stated before, of massive infection. So, short of isolating your hands like this for 6 months to a year, maybe longer, in casts, I guess, so that you can't move them, and finding somebody that's willing to help you in the bathroom every day, I don't know how you would ever heal this out, no matter how cute it is. Anyway, so that's 10 dumb piercing ideas. I hope you enjoyed this. If I brought up any questions or you disagree with me, feel free to make a comment. I'd love to debate these issues. I'd love to hear about experiences that other people have had with these piercings, success or failure. The biggest thing I'm going to leave you all with is, if you are even considering this, do your research, not only of the piercing itself. I'm not saying watch a bunch of videos of attractive young girls who have style shows talking about their experience of it. What I'm talking about is do a search, find as many situations where people have gotten it done, and read about and research their experience. Also, when choosing your piercer, choose them well, research them, drill them, ask them questions. And I'll tell you, if they're willing to do any of these 10 piercings without sitting down and saying to you, hey, there is a lot of risk involved with this. This is probably not going to heal correctly, or you're going to have a lot of issues, or it may not last. That is not a reputable piercer. That is somebody that wants your money and wants the reputation of doing weird and odd things. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. I'm sure I'll get a few of those, basically because of the topic. If you'd like to see more piercing and tattooing videos and body modification in general, hit that subscription and ring the bell so that you're notified every single time we post one of these videos. If you like to support the channel and look stylish at the same time, check out our merch store. A link is in the description. Also, I linked a blog I wrote a few years ago about dangerous piercings. There's a few that I didn't cover in there, but a lot of good information. I'll make sure to put an iCard up for that. All I have left to say is, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody.